But let's look at the Bible, and this is what we're looking at. How does God want us to respond to pain and struggles? And you say, kind of like, avoid them. That's the American mantra. We eat more pain relievers than the rest of the world combined. Did you know that? 6% of the population, that's America, eats more pain relievers than all the rest of the world combined. Do you know why? We have been trained. You have any ache or pain? Take 2, whatever, ibuprofen or acetaminophen or something. But look at what Jesus is doing, starting in verse 9 in chapter 1. I'm just going to read this, and we'll read our text later. But I, John, both your brother and companion in tribulations and the kingdom and patience of Jesus Christ. I wish I could work on that for a while. Kingdom and patience and tribulation. We don't like any of those things. Was on the island that is called Patmos for the word of God and for the testimony of Jesus Christ. In other words, he was suffering because he was a Christian. He was the last known follower of the biggies, the 12 apostles. He was the last general of Jesus Christ. There were 12 of them. He was the last one living, and the emperor hunted him down. Can you imagine having the whole Roman Empire, all those legionnaires looking for you? That's a fearful thing. And they found him and imprisoned him and put him out there. Okay, and I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, verse 10, and I heard a voice behind me, a loud voice, as of a trumpet, saying, and verse 11 is Jesus introducing himself. Wow. I told you, this book is the most complete explanation of all that Jesus Christ is and all that he has done and all that he plans to do and his character and attributes and names. It's amazing. And then it says in verse 12, I turned to see the voice that spoke to me, and having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. Now we encounter all this mysterious stuff. The reason people don't even like Revelation, because it's got so many symbols and metaphors and pictures, and kind of like we don't know where to categorize them. But the best way to read literature is just to read it like it means what it says. And so John actually saw lampstands, which we would call menorah. These are oil lamps that are on these little holders. And you can go to any, antiquities museum and see this. So we saw these lampstands, and look in verse 13, in the midst of the 7 lampstands. And the first description of Jesus, one like the Son of Man. The first thing John saw is Jesus is the same as he always was. He's still like a Son of Man. That was Jesus' favorite title for himself. Whenever he introduced himself in the Gospels, he was the Son of Man, the Son of Man, the Son of Man. And we don't even use that term very often. It was his most frequent one, tied back to Daniel and the whole thing of him being the Messiah, God among men, and relating to us. Like Hebrews says, he is in all points tempted like we are, and he understands what we're going through. So John sees him, but look what it says in verse 13. He's standing in the middle of the lampstands. Well, what are the lampstands? Well, look at verse 20. I'm glad you asked that because I wanted to show you. It says in verse 20, same chapter, the mystery of the 7 stars that you saw in my right hand and the 7 golden lampstands are this. The 7 stars are the angels. Angels? Are we talking about precious moments, things now? We need to have those in our house, right? Some people, they just like little angels all around. It's kind of like they hope they, help them or something. These little ceramic that cost way too much money. No. Angeloi is messenger. There are all kinds of messengers. There's a FedEx Angeloi. There's a UPS Angeloi. There's all kinds of Angeloids. They're messengers. You go to cities, you see them on bicycles or mopeds or electric razor scooters. They're messengers. They're carrying messages back and forth. Couriers, we call them today. So some of them are these very powerful, indestructible, timeless creatures that, as far as we know, never rest, never sleep, never eat. They can go through all solid objects. They're spirits. Wow. But that's not what this is. This is, as we see the rest of the Bible explaining this, every church Paul established in the ancient world, Acts 14:23, they appointed elders in every place. There was always a person who was the person in charge of feeding and leading. Now, some of them also did the ruling, and they kind of were the overseer kind. But most churches didn't have enough to have one of those overseeing kind, but he had the feeding, leading kind, pastors. And that's what these messengers are. This scroll that was copied, written down by John, sent on the boat to Ephesus, copied in the book center. By the way, Ephesus, the library of Celsius, was the largest book center or publication in the ancient world. And so the scrolls were copied there, and it was sent to a geographic location we'll see on the map in a minute. And there was a local church there where someone received that scroll. And he didn't have wings, okay? Don't think of one of those kind of angels. Think of a person. Now think of your pastor at your local church as an angel, a messenger from God. It says in Ephesians 4 that pastors are gifts from God to churches. A lot of people think that they're an employee and they better shape up, But actually, they're a gift from God to that local church. Now, some of them might not be acting like a gift of God. Some of them might not be fulfilling their giftedness. But they're still, if they're called of God, they're a gift of God. And they're supposed to do this. They're supposed to receive the message and deliver it. But look what it says. So that's who the stars are. But this is the best part. And the 7 lampstands which you saw are the 7 churches. Now, quiz. Everybody look up. Before I lose any of you into somnambulism, which means you walk around half asleep. But just think for a second. Where was Jesus? Among the what? The lampstands. What are the lampstands? The churches. Where does Jesus spend his time today? Among the churches. Do you know what Jesus is doing right now? He's doing what he was doing. He showed us this to show us. He is not water skiing on the nebulae somewhere out there. He is not, just adding on to do more of the universe. He is actually so riveted. He is right now, verse 9, standing among the lampstands. Verse 20, the lampstands are the 7 churches. Jesus is walking around, watching us right now, seeing whether or not we're responding to pain and struggles the way he told us we're supposed to. Now, last night, seeing whether or not we're living out the Christian life. And tonight, seeing all the maladies we have. Our service tonight, I'm going to show you Jesus' diagnostic report. He actually gives a report on each of these churches and tells where they're sick and what their sicknesses are. It's amazing. But that's what we're looking at.